Welcome to Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On with Janice Formicella. I'm Janice Formicella, a breakup coach passionate about supporting others to learn from their breakups, overcome loneliness, love being single, and see the end of a relationship as the beginning of a magical, sexy new chapter in life. I am here each week to share with you the tools that I have learned through my own painful breakups, through hitting rock bottom more than once, and through working with people all around the world to heal their broken hearts. If you are looking for hope and strength to move on from your breakup and resources to enjoy your new life, you are in the right place, and I've got your back. Hello, my dear listeners. Thank you for joining in for another episode of X-Files. I am flying solo today to talk about flying solo. And funnily enough, I'm actually going on a solo trip, flying literally solo this afternoon. I am going to be giving a bit of an overview today on self-soothing as a means of healing from your breakup and having better future relationships. I have been leaning into doing more solo content this year, as I've mentioned before, and I thought this would be the perfect topic to start the year off with. One of the things I am most passionate about as a coach and as a public speaker is the issue of loneliness and overcoming loneliness. I had the beautiful opportunity to speak on many platforms last year on the topic, and it is something that I am continuing to study and develop. I know that we are all capable of overcoming loneliness on our own. Currently, I am focusing on self-soothing and its role in overcoming loneliness, coming out stronger after a breakup, and having happier future relationships. I have a personal story that involves my commitment to learning to self-soothe, and I am going to share that with you today. This journey of mine completely changed my life. I became more interested in the topic as I felt into my role as a podcaster and a coach who focuses on breakups and dating. And therefore, I was being faced constantly, especially the last year and a half or so, with the ongoing popularity of attachment styles as it relates to both breakups and dating. One of the ongoing struggles or issues that I have had with the conversation around attachment theory is that it often centers around creating an identity around one's attachment style or attachment tendencies, as I like to call them, rather than embracing the potential to move from an insecure style to a secure style, which we are capable of. This is particularly prevalent around the impacts of having an anxious attachment style or an anxious attachment tendency. So it was an absolute revelation to discover the book Polysecure by Jessica Fern last year in the midst of my study around loneliness. I found Fern's focus on the empowering nature of committing to becoming more secure in our relationships and the snowball effect that it has on those around us. One of her challenges to those who consider themselves to be anxiously attached is to learn to self-soothe. I was really excited when I read this, and it really lit a fire in me that is burning today. Even as I record this episode, I'm really on fire, really turned on about the topic. Let's get into it. Self-soothing. What does it mean to self-soothe? What am I even talking about? In short, it is our ability to regulate our emotional state on our own. It is particularly useful when dealing with feelings of anxiety, overwhelm, confusion, and anger. ClarityClinic.com says, when we get hurt physically or mentally, when we feel anxious or depressed, we all hope to feel better. We seek to feel better by learning how to make ourselves heal and relieve anxieties in both immediate and long-term ways. In other words, we self-soothe. Self-soothing is a way in which we treat ourselves to feelings of betterment so that we can move forward past any negativity or pain. So while there are many benefits to having people in your life to rely on for support, self-soothing frees our relationships from the burden of feeling that this support is required. It helps us to recognize that we don't need someone else to feel better when things go wrong. Jessica Fern can certainly explain things better than I can. She says, when we are able to tune in and tend to our needs from the inside first, we may still seek outward support, comfort, and guidance from our partners. But our fundamental well-being and sense of being okay are not dependent on it. When applied to the self, attunement is our ability to turn inward in order to become receptive and aware of our interior world. Self-attunement is the inner inquiry into what you are feeling, needing, thinking, and experiencing. Self-attunement facilitates self-knowing, which furthers our ability to self-regulate and soothe our own physiological and emotional states, as well as respond appropriately to our environment. I don't know about you, but that sounds so liberating to me. And part of the reason it sounds so liberating is because I know that it is. And I know this because of my own journey. I grew up in an environment without a lot of privacy. I was a member of the LDS/Mormon church. I grew up in a big family. I had a lot of other people constantly up in my business. Making decisions, having something emotional happen, and experiencing anything external were all matters of kind of the larger family or community. So, for instance, when I had my first breakup in high school, I was tortured for days because I did not have enough privacy to cry or grieve. And this is because, having the relationship in the first place was something that I was forced to keep secret, because having romantic relationships as teenagers is something that the adults around you have a lot of input in, a lot of judgment. They might restrict you from doing it. So I didn't have anywhere to really grieve. And it was very painful, even physically. Another example, the first time that I made out with a boy in high school, my close friends told their parents, who then told my parents, who told other parents. And before I knew it, it was common knowledge to everyone around me that I had done this, which, could have been a special thing with much better memories than I have of it today for that reason. So partially because of this dynamic, I never really learned how to look after my own shit. I met the man who would become my ex-husband at a pretty young age, and very naturally started going to him for any and all moral or emotional support I felt I needed for the next 7 years. There was hardly a bump in the road or a minor decision that I needed to make that I didn't rely heavily on his input to navigate. And I think it seemed normal to me at the time to do that. And I very first started to understand the impacts of living this way when I was in an abusive relationship shortly after my divorce. My partner at the time was an alcoholic, and living with him was utter chaos. I left and I went back so many times that I exhausted my support network. I remember calling a certain person in my life that I won't name here one day to talk about the most recent crisis, and completely having this person tell me off. They were sick of hearing about it. I ended the call and I just felt like I was trapped, just like trapped in the room, trapped in the relationship, trapped in the misery of it all because of the lack of external solutions that there were. After the relationship ended, I really had zero ability to look after myself, only because I had never learned how to do it at all. For the next 5 years of my life or so, I chased one thing after another that I thought would be the answer to the pain I was feeling inside. And I never looked inside for any of the solutions. I lost everything over and over again just to find myself with even less than I had when I had gotten divorced years earlier. So, after quite a bit of soul searching, I came to the conclusion that one of the solutions to turning my life around once and for all was to learn to be more self reliant, including emotionally self reliant. There are a lot of things that happened after that point that led to where I am today. But the main point is that once I developed the skill to self-soothe, I have been happier and I have had better relationships. Why is this? It's because there are many benefits to learning to self-soothe. One reason I am so excited about the topic is that the many benefits tie directly to also overcoming loneliness and the loneliness that many of us feel after a breakup because we're missing our partner and we don't have that same person to go to for support. By definition, self-soothing leads to a loss of loneliness because it gives us the ability to look after our own emotional needs rather than having our satisfaction be based on sharing each moment with others. Another reason self-soothing has benefits is because it allows us to bounce back from negative experiences in life because it creates space for us to discover what it is we need and how to give it to ourselves. Self-soothing is a great way to manage anxiety because it teaches us solutions to feeling overwhelmed that are easy to access because it's right here inside. This was huge for me. I went through a period of intense emotional instability that included trips to the hospital, calling people at all hours of the night, self-medicating, and more. Self-attunement has allowed me to live a more relaxed life because I know how to find the answers right here inside. Self-attunement has allowed me to live in a more relaxed state because I know how to find the answers right here inside. It has served me really well. In fact, I had something extremely upsetting and very unexpected happen recently. I happened to be with a close friend at the time, and still, once I felt I was beginning to, kind of freak out about it, I knew that actually having a bit of time to myself was the answer, and it was. And I actually did end up talking with a close friend who has been on this show before, Christine Lalonde. And it was fun to chat with her on the phone while I was chilling by myself, but more so because we were able to dish and talk about what was going on without the burden of me wanting her to solve the problem or make me feel better, because I had already made myself feel better. Self-soothing can help with breakups because it teaches us to make decisions that will be most helpful overall. Self-soothing helps with breakups because it helps us maintain no contact as we learn to take care of our own healing rather than putting a Band-Aid on our pain through communicating with the source of it, aka our ex. So, I'm sure that sounds wonderful to a lot of you. And you might be wondering how to do it, especially if this is something that you feel you've struggled with, or if you do feel anxious. And if you do feel anxious inside of your relationships, you might think that it's impossible. And if that is how you are feeling and you would like to learn how to recover from your breakup with self-soothing or become more secure in your dating life, please hit me up because this is something I work with clients on. Learning how to self-soothe is a process and it does not happen quickly. Our inability to self-soothe comes from years and years of doing things differently, and it's often rooted in our childhood. And so the way that we respond to stress may feel like it's very much a part of us and how we just are. But please listen to my overall point. Most of the time, this is something we can learn. We can rise above our patterns. We can toss out old habits. We can start again. Some of the techniques I currently use for self-soothing are what I might consider advanced and are not things that I did in the beginning of my journey. It's a matter of baby steps. Some of the things I did early in my self-soothing journey included standing up and pacing around the apartment when I felt overwhelmed and before I acted on my overwhelm, closing my laptop when work or planning was becoming too much. I was first learning to do this when I was living in Australia after several years and saving up and planning a move back to America. I didn't have a job. I did not have a lot of savings. It was a very somewhat stressful, big thing to plan. And yes, often I did feel overwhelmed and I would just close my laptop, maybe walk around, go outside. Another thing that I did was listening to my breath and counting down from 10 when something stressful happened. I know that might seem a little cliched, but it actually really does work. Another thing I would do is I would stop and do the dishes. I know that might seem a little counterintuitive, but just trust me, it works. I would sometimes set a 7-minute timer and tidy up the apartment or the space around me as a healthy distraction from how I was feeling. Setting a timer is good because you have a start and a finish to it and you don't have to think about the time. And 7 minutes works for me because it's like just long enough to get something done, but not too long to completely derail what I was already doing. I would also sometimes put on a fun playlist. You could, create a stress playlist for yourself of music that will snap you out of it. I would sometimes pack up my things and go to a local bar or cafe to get my work done. Getting out of your environment is super effective for self-soothing and stress and anxiety. Sometimes I would, and I still do, put cold water on my face. That's also great for anxiety. Jessica Fern's wonderful book, Polysecure, includes some tips as well. Some of them include: take yourself on a date or pamper yourself with something that you genuinely enjoy. So take yourself on that sexy solo date night that I am always talking about. Listen to self-hypnosis tracks or positive affirmations that are aligned with what you want to feel about yourself. Another one of her tips: write yourself a love letter or make a list of all of the things you appreciate about yourself. Another one: start a gratitude practice and make sure to include yourself as the object of gratitude. And then she has many more, but one last one I'll read. Let yourself laugh and seek out humor. Definitely check this book out if you are looking to have healthier relationships. I want to again emphasize that this is a work in the making. I know that especially when dealing with a breakup, that learning to self-soothe can feel impossible and it can be a hard thing to commit to. So please don't think that I am full of shit if this doesn't happen overnight. And please give yourself tons of grace and patience as you develop this important skill. I really think that this could be a game changer for you. Do you have a story about self-soothing that you'd like to share with me? Please find me on Instagram at Janice Formicella or X-Files Podcast and let me know. All of the information is in the show notes. I may use what you share in a future episode of X-Files, and that is because I will be doing more content on this topic this year, and I would love to hear from you about how it has impacted your life for the better and how you set new habits and patterns in life. If you found this episode helpful, I would appreciate it if you left me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and let me know. And this is so that I get to hear from you and also so that you help others find the show. I am sending you so much strength as you navigate this. And with that, I will see you next week. Nothing shatters your life like a breakup. And the feeling of a broken heart is real. I know that it seems impossible right now, but there is hope and there are ways to heal. I would love to work with you one-on-one to heal your broken heart and put your breakup behind you. My personalized coaching programs are designed to pinpoint what will be most effective in helping you to move forward and make this breakup a part of your past. I believe in you. Message me at breakupspodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Instagram at breakupspodcast, and let's connect about creating a magical plan of action to get this breakup in your rear view mirror.